What is the future of the DC Extended Universe? Find out today on the Nerdiscussion. So, what exactly is the Nerdiscussion? Well, the Nerdiscussion is where I take a topic in the world of comic books, anime, video games, and pro wrestling and expand upon it and give my personal thoughts and opinions on said topic, and then leave the floor open to you guys where you can have a discussion in the comment section below. With Comic-Con in full swing, I thought what better topic to start off this series than with the future of the DC Extended Universe. Without further ado, let's dive right in. So, the DC Extended Universe, or the DCEU for short, has been very, very divisive to say the very least. Some people are on board with it and they're still supporting it no matter what. Some people are totally against it, have had enough of their movies, and they want the whole cinematic universe to just stop. There are some people like me who think that there is a way to salvage this. So crazy because there are even petitioning for the end of the DCEU, which I feel is ridiculous because I am a fan of DC. I do love DC Comics, as you can see by the t-shirt, and if you see right here, Wonder Woman is one of my pop figures. I'm gonna go ahead and leave her right here, where you can see her right here, and she's gonna be there for the rest of this video. Before we get into what the future for them is, let's talk about where they are right now. So the DC Extended Universe has had a pretty lukewarm reaction for the most part. Starting off with the movie Man of Steel, which did explore the origins of Superman. I thought personally it was a really good film because they shed Superman's origin in a much different light, and I gotta appreciate Zack Snyder. It really made us ask the question, if a superhero, if a person with godlike powers, a person who can fly, shoot lasers from his eyes, have ice breath and super strength, if such a person really did exist, would he be supporting the good of mankind, or would he do more harm than good? Then we moved on to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and personally this was a good film for all intents and purposes. However, I felt that it was not a very contained film and the pacing was just all over the place. This movie basically became a 2.5-hour trailer for Justice League. That was my biggest problem with this film, and I think is the biggest problem with everybody else. Now, I did like the performances, especially with Ben Affleck as Batman, and for the two people that don't like him, you can go ahead and pour yourself a nice hot cup of Granny's peach tea. I feel that Ben Affleck did great for this role, and I was really excited to see what more they had going in for him. That's when we moved to Suicide Squad, the DCEU's weakest link in my opinion. I think Suicide Squad really dropped the ball here. I think it had the potential to be a really good movie featuring the Joker as the main villain. However, we got evil sorceress who does hula dances, and you're telling me to stop this ancient sorceress, you're gonna send in a dude with too many guns, a psychopathic femme fatale with a baseball bat, and a man who has a fetish for boomerangs to stop her? Are you kidding me? This was absolutely the worst film in the DC Extended Universe, in my opinion. And then things were looking up for the DCEU with the inclusion of Wonder Woman. This right here was an amazing film, really showing the origins of this character, being a really well-made film and very contained within the plot. It wasn't trying to set up for Justice League, it wasn't trying to set up for any other movies, it was just trying to be its own film. Another thing that I really appreciate from director Patty Jenkins, she was trying to make a good superhero film, not just a good female superhero film, just a good superhero movie. That's what we wanted. I felt that this is where the DCEU was gonna really turn around and really just prove all the haters wrong. I was totally behind the DCEU when it first started. Then we got Justice League, and unfortunately, this movie felt very rushed. It was still good. I still enjoyed it for all intents and purposes, but it felt like a really rushed plot, and even the pacing here wasn't that good. And I guess that's because the directors changed hands. We went from Zack Snyder, and then Joss Whedon took over and did reshoots, and that's why we got all kinds of pacing all over the place, and not to mention CGI Superman, which looked you know what, I'm not even gonna go there. I wouldn't say the DCEU dropped the ball here, but I would say that this is kind of where they made me have some doubts. So that's kind of where they are, and here's where I talk about what the problem is right now with the DCEU. So what is the problem so far? Well, I think the first thing is the characters. I unfortunately did not care about any character in the Justice League movie with the exception of Wonder Woman. Other than that, I really didn't care about anybody. Batman, to a degree, I cared about him. That's just because Ben Affleck did a good job. But Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, they just really played second fiddle in my opinion. And I just don't understand that because these are very compelling characters. Yes, even Aquaman is a really good character. I think that this was the biggest downfall right now for the DCU is that the characters there was no depth to these characters. Yes, they did have a little bit of an origin story for all the different characters like Cyborg, Aquaman, and Flash, but I didn't really know why the heck I was supposed to care. It was almost like the directors and everybody at DC Comics were like, well, people who watch this movie, all of them obviously have read the comics, so we don't have to worry about an origin story, which is not true because a lot of people don't read comics and a lot of people go to these superhero movies to learn more about the heroes. That's what you should do. You need to make the audience know who these characters are, though. If the people are not invested in your characters, there is no movie. It doesn't matter how good the costume designs are. It doesn't matter how buff the actor got to play this role. If the character has no substance, the people aren't gonna care. Kudos to the costume designer for making an amazing costume, and kudos to the actor for putting the time in the gym and monitoring his diet and counting the calories to get super shredded for the role. But other than that, what else is there in these characters? There's absolutely nothing. They're just a pretty package in my opinion, and that is, I think, one of the biggest issues with this cinematic universe. Heck, I cared more about Ned from Spider-Man Homecoming than I did about Flash. That is not acceptable. Flash is a great superhero, and I feel that there's a lot more you could do with him and a lot more depth you can give that man. Another problem that I really saw was the fact that I think the reason why the Justice League felt so rushed is because they're trying to catch up to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The thing is, Marvel has had 10 years to perfect their craft, and the DCEU started around 2014 to be, well, 2016, I guess, to be more exact. So at that time, 8 years to perfect their craft. So they've already set up their character. They've already given us a reason to care about Iron Man, about Captain America, about Hulk, about Thor. Here, there's really no setup. There's no substance here whatsoever. I just see some really buff actors in some really good costumes, and there's nothing more to it. That is my whole complaint with the DCEU, is the compelling characters or the lack thereof, and the fact that it's so rushed because they're trying to catch up to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And also, of course, DC Comics and Warner Brothers almost making it feel like they expect us to have read the comic. They expect us to have actually done our homework. Unfortunately, you can't count on that. You cannot count on the audience knowing your product. You have to educate them through your film. That is the whole point. That is what I think the main problem lies with this cinematic universe, and here is my solution. So, what is my personal solution for the DCEU? 2 words: character development. I want characters that I can actually care about. And the way I feel we should do it is by reintroducing the world to your superheroes. Act like nobody knows a thing about any of these characters. Not about Batman, not about Superman, not about Wonder Woman, not about Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, Shazam. Nobody knows who these characters are. You need to make movies where I can actually learn about these characters, where they came from, why they do what they do, and what is the big deal. Because as I mentioned, any costume designer can make a great costume, any actor can get buff for the role, but if there is no depth in that character they're portraying, then there is no point. This is how I think they should do. They need to focus on good origin stories for all these characters, and I feel that's the direction that DC is going. So so kudos to them, but they need to stay the course. As a matter of fact, if we don't get a Justice League movie for another 5 years, I am totally fine with that, because by that time we would have gotten characters that we care about. For example, look at the Nolan trilogy for Batman. Look at the Dark Knight trilogy. That movie reintroduced us to the character of Batman. And everything going on in his mind, everything going on internally, and his physical preparation as well. That is how you really do it. Look at how wonderfully Nolan crafted the character of Bruce Wayne / Batman. It was amazing. It is a beautiful thing to see. That is how you need to do it. Make good movies. Don't just worry about making a good superhero film. How about just good movies in general? Go back to the Dark Knight trilogy. Those are just really good movies. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry could have been in that film. It didn't have to be Batman or Ra's al Ghul or Bane or Joker or anybody. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry could have been in that movie, and it would have still been a really good film. That is how you create good movies. You know why? Because I cared about those characters. That is one of the biggest reasons for the Nolan trilogy for being such big successes. That is kind of my 2 cents on this whole thing. This is my solution for the DC Extended Universe. So those are my thoughts on the future of DCEU. Now I leave it to you guys. What do you guys think about this? What is your solution for the DC Cinematic Universe, or the DC Extended Universe as it's called? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on social media and tell your friends about the Nerdy Mark. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Sid and Wonder Woman signing off. You guys take care. Bye-bye.